ma'am.
Yeah.
Yay.
There we are. Cool. All right, yeah, so plus Zach and I are trying to figure out our finances. It's okay. It shouldn't be actually picking. Oh, wait, it is. Hello, hello, hello. Sorry for the cats. They're gonna be everywhere. We're in a different spot today too.
Yep.
So that's also awesome. But yeah, because we had to be at my place, we don't have
commitment.
yeah.
So couldn't be here.
Yeah. But since we that's the case, we don't have as some of our like disclaimer set up and all that. So we're gonna just quick disclaimer: we're not parenting experts. We are not experts in any sort of anime. We just enjoy it. We're just talking about our experiences, what we're learning, things like that. So, yeah.
Not developmental experts either.
No, not developmental experts either. And sorry, you will see my cats running around in the background.
There are 4, right?
3.
3.
Yeah.
I've seen 2.
There are 3.
Never mind, I've seen all 3 now.
Here's one of them. I also have a void.
I don't have a void.
Oh, okay, bye. She's like, no, I don't want to be on camera. However, my Molly in the background does definitely want to show her butt to the camera. Okay. So, yeah.
What up?
And I'm sure Tucker's probably, oh yeah, he's sitting by the door. So we're here.
We're here.
But yeah, today we were going to talk about labor because I figured, well, when we were talking about it, and I was like, this is a great opportunity because unfortunately for Peyton, she didn't experience a complete vaginal birth. She experienced a C-section. Definitely she had to labor before that, but yeah. A little bit of a different experience versus like, I'm hoping to end up with a vaginal birth depending upon, how my child decides to be, because, she's special. Yeah, she's big. And that will actually be part of my parenting story. We'll talk about how big. But, Amy also, got to experience vaginal birth. So, I'll get opportunities to kind of ask her a little bit about her experiences as well. So,
Sounds good.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah,
Parenting story.
yeah.
Parenting.
Would you like to go with yours first?
Sure. So our oldest,
Mhm.
is really outgrowing his like high chair. Kachan's growing out the high
Mhm.
chair. He still fits, but it like bruises his shins
Mhm.
and stuff. So we tried like we have this other set of table and stuff
Mhm.
that with two chairs. We was like, oh, let's try it. And then we obviously
Mhm.
put Deku on the ground with him
Mhm.
too, so he doesn't get like upset or anything.
Yeah.
That he's different. Well, it was going good, but now we realize since they have freedom, they're not eating their food now.
Oh.
Right? Like they're too focused on the TV or just walking around with like, you do pretty good, but now you're just not eating the normal things that you do. Whereas before, if they were in the high chairs, I could set both plates in front and they would eat all their food. Now they
Okay.
don't. So we're like, time to go
They're like, I
back.
have the ability to walk away, so therefore
Right.
I'll forget
Right.
about it.
So it's a learning process.
Mhm.
So even though your kids are ready for certain things,
Mhm.
they may not be.
Well, and if it comes down to what works best for you and them, really.
Mhm,
I mean, and that
mhm.
sounds like the high chairs work
Oh
better
my
for you
gosh, it
guys.
works so much better. They
Yeah.
eat all their food, and
Yeah.
you don't have to clean up as big of a mess,
Yeah.
Kai loves them on the ground because she gets like all of the scraps. Obviously, I take away the stuff that she's not allowed to eat.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
anything down there that she's allowed to have, she's all for it. I'm like, cool. She's been loving it, but we're like,
You're like,
sorry, kiddo, no more.
Kids need to be able to eat their food themselves.
Yep.
For sure.
So that's my parenting
Yeah.
story.
Well, my story is that so I had a growth scan earlier this week, and with my growth scan, we found out that my daughter is in the greater than 97th percentile for size in everything but her legs, where her legs were like 94th percentile, something like that.
Close enough.
Very very close. It's fine. There were some measurements that were quite ahead. But they estimated her weight, which I have learned throughout this entire pregnancy on every single thing I've seen about ultrasounds and estimating their size. Weights can be like up to a couple pounds off, but considering that she is larger, and I definitely feel like I'm popping out more, I think her weight is probably fairly accurate.
Yeah.
They gave her 6 pounds and 3 ounces.
You still have a month to go.
Yeah.
That's like almost healthy baby weight.
Yeah. Like there's women in some of cause like when you join some of the apps, like they put you automatically into your like month's birth club or whatever. And so there's some women who have had their babies already due to either complications or them coming early or whatever.
Right.
And like all of them are like, oh yeah, my baby was like 5 pounds and we're doing good or whatever. And like some people are like, oh yeah, I've had past babies and they were big and they were born at these weights and things like that. And so it definitely sounds like 6 pounds is not a nice healthy weight already.
It is.
Which is kind of crazy for me to think about, is if she did decide to just come out now,
Well, you're way past your safe date at this
Yeah.
point too, so that's also reassuring. I know when I hit my safe dates, I was like, cool. If you come out,
Yeah.
you have a good chance.
Zach keeps telling her though that she has to wait. He's like, you just need to give me at least a couple more weeks. And that's what he keeps telling me. Which I'm okay with because, I'd like at least a few more weeks.
Right.
I personally would like to at least make it to beginning of May at this point.
Right. Yeah.
So, but she is big, and they have now told me that at this point they don't think they'll let me go beyond 39 weeks gestation.
So you will get induced.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
And
Oh, yeah,
unless she
that's
comes on
IVF.
her own. Because before they said with her being an IVF baby in general that they won't let me go beyond 40.
Gotcha.
So because like at that point they were like, well, the numbers for stillbirth after 40 weeks, they gradually increase the longer you wait. And with IVF, they increase faster.
Yeah.
So they were like, ultimately, like, we think it would be better for you to not go beyond 40 weeks. Right. Completely understandable. I don't have a problem with that.
Don't argue with doctor.
Nope. But now, just in general, with her being bigger, they think that it would be better for me to not go beyond 39. And I asked if there was any, chance of it moving up, even before that.
Yeah.
And she was, the provider I saw this last time, she was like, generally we don't go before 38 weeks unless there's issues. So I was like, cool, awesome. Yep. See, Zach's in the chat saying she must wait until May 11th, because he doesn't want to call when he's an hour away. The nice
Fair
thing
enough.
is, even if he's like, if he works for the hospital system that we're
Yeah.
planning on birthing at.
Yeah.
So regardless, he'll be at probably one of their locations if he is working.
Right.
So it just might be that I have to call somebody else to help drive me.
Well, I live close.
Yeah.
I'll drive you.
Yeah.
I'll drive you.
I'm like, there's options. I've got people. It's not like I couldn't.
The good news is, like, their grandparents live, like, literally down the road.
Yeah.
So I would drop off the kids on my way to
Oh, there you go.
So that
perfect.
That would work.
And even then, like, if for some reason,
I also
like,
don't work, so I would be there.
Well, and if for some reason, like, you were busy, it's not like I can't, like, call my mom up. And because, like, labor in general, I know they tell you with your first child, it doesn't progress that quickly. So kind of depends, though.
Really depends.
Yeah. So that is actually, like, one of the things that I wanted to ask your,
Anime update first.
Oh, yes, but we'll do anime first.
Then I'll ask.
Yes.
Or answer.
Yes.
I have to talk to you about Apothecary Diaries.
Say, I finished the last episode.
I did too. I did
yesterday.
last night.
And Zach literally watched. I sat there and I was like, I don't want it to be.
But
done.
it's not. It's not. It's so.
I know
like,
they confirmed the second season, coming out, but like,
okay, Monocle Man gives me the ick.
But like he redeemed it like a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. I'll give him that, but he gives me the ick.
Yeah. He does kind of creep me out in general. And I do think the fact that he can't recognize people's faces and everybody just looks like a go piece.
That's an actual illness, though. It actually is. I don't know what it's called, but I remember reading about it back in, like, college. It's an actual thing that people can recognize faces. Like, they just can't.
That makes sense.
So it's an actual thing.
Huh. Yeah. I never really, like, I mean, I never ruled it out as something that couldn't exist, and said, like, oh, yeah, there's no way this is a thing. But, like, at the same time, like, I never really thought about the fact that that could be an actual thing that people could have. But it makes sense.
Yep.
There's so many different, like, mental health things, that pertain to that. But,
let's give it to May too, for opening the damn door.
Yes.
Like, yay, May.
Yes.
For doing it. But he still gives me the ick. I am so proud of what he did. Yeah. But you give me the ick.
I definitely... It was interesting seeing the start of the whole, seeing his side of everything, like, that happened in general.
Right. Because, I felt better after seeing that bit.
Seeing it from Mao Mao's point of view and, like, how, how she felt about him definitely gave him a very villainistic, like, feeling to it.
Everything leading up to it, too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he just seemed sketch in general, because it's just like, yes, this dude, I just want to, like, test this lady, like this child over here and see, what she can do. And that just is weird to me. Yeah. Like, okay. I mean, it would be one thing if you're like, oh, hey, I'm intending to test you because maybe I want to bring you into like a strategist job. Like, I could understand that, but like he seemed to make no move towards that. It was just, let me just, send tests to this person.
So was Mamo's adopted father his uncle?
It doesn't seem like it.
He said he's been suffering that for a while, and they said, like, something, I don't remember, I thought there was a connection there, like, that guy was actually the dude's uncle. Because that guy is older.
Yeah. It would...
Did I get that wrong?
I feel like there would have been opportunities, though, with him as a strategist in the palace in general, even if he's not always in the rear palace, the fact that Mao Mao's adoptive dad worked for the palace, though he was primarily in the rear palace, like, I mean, it would have made sense for a physician to be used wherever he was needed.
Yeah.
So... I guess it would make sense to me for them to just know each other just from that and not be related.
Gotcha. I thought I heard something like the second or third to last episode when they were talking
I may have totally missed whatever this, whatever
like he said, like, his uncle's the one who told him to make it look like chess pieces. He told him to do that. And then in the last episode, when Mao Mao's back home and talking to her adoptive father, he says, yes, I've known him for a long time. He's suffered with that condition for
Mhm.
ages.
Mhm. I mean, maybe
So
we'll find
like,
out that they are. I mean, we could go ahead and read, the manga,
the
but
manga, yeah.
I at this point I love the characters as they are. Like I don't know that I could go to the manga and read ahead right now.
No, I don't want to.
Like I want to experience this like in video format
Yeah,
now.
I don't want to. But new cosplay ideas, Momo's last dress.
Yes, that would be a pretty one.
I already have the green wig.
I think in general, like one of the things that I've always struggled with like cosplay is I'm a plus size lady. I am. And I don't feel comfortable having or like wearing outfits that show like a ton of skin generally.
Yeah.
And there's so many people that I would want to cosplay where all of their outfits are just a metric ton of like their skin is out there.
I think that's just anime women in general.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's either that or they are really fully covered, but they are covered with so many extra pieces like armor or things like that that I'm like, I don't have time to be making all that cosplay in my life generally right now. So I was like, cause like I thought about cosplaying Erza from Fairy Tale.
Love Erza.
When we went
Fairy Tale, by the way. Love it. Love it. I was so excited when I found out Hot Topic. I was like purchasing.
Yes. But yeah, like I mean her outfits are literally either like armor or they are
the armor skimpy
limited
too.
Clothes.
Yeah, armor skimpy too.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, because like I don't mind like I guess a short skirt like that wouldn't be as big a deal. But like I feel
but the armor
less
that
comfortable.
You would have to go up here. Like that's a lot of armor that she even just in her normal like outfit. That's a lot of armor. Yeah.
And I just like with some of her other stuff, it's like bearing your midriff, and I've never been like super comfortable doing that.
Sure.
And like I could probably work on my own personal body image and make myself more comfortable. But at the time that we were last cosplaying, I was like, I am bloated from the medications I'm taking. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I don't. I don't want to do that. So I did not. But yeah, Mao Mao would in general would be a great person to end up cosplaying.
Even if you like did Mao Mao's like normal clothes.
Yeah.
You could do Mao Mao's normal clothes if you wanted to do her.
And that's kind of what I was like thinking, like that I could potentially do it at some point.
Borrow my green wig.
Yeah.
I'll style it for you.
Or maybe we could just both be different versions of Mao Mao.
Yes.
And I'll get my own green wig. Yeah. And then we'll go and cosplay. It'll be like regular Mao Mao, dancer Mao Mao.
I could just dye my hair green.
We could get Peyton in on it and make her another Mao Mao.
Oh, she could be like the like dinner party Mao Mao.
Oh yeah.
Dinner party Mao Mao. Yeah. Because her hair's up in buns and stuff.
Yeah. That was a good look for Mao Mao.
It was a great look for Mao Mao. Loved it.
Heck, I wouldn't even mind like cosplaying as Jinshi.
Oh my god!
I know.
No wait. Okay, you guys be Mao Mao. I'm gonna be Jinshi. Let me be Jinshi. I will do it.
Like I've never thought. I mean, granted, I haven't cosplayed that much because I was always like for a long time it was like kind of one of those things where it was like, oh, it's not cool. Like it's becoming more cool.
It's way more cool. There's guys walking around in maid costumes for the last 3 years. I think you're good.
Yeah.
I think you're good.
Heck, even when I was in middle school, I mean, to be fair, I guess this wasn't, I mean, some people thought it was cool, some people did not. But I had, like, there was a guy at my school who walked around in one of the cheerleading uniforms.
Love it.
He got dress coded for it, which he was like, but why can I not wear it?
I love this guy.
The girls can.
Yeah, love that guy. Whoever he is, more power to you.
He was pretty solid. I mean, he was one of the popular dudes for sure, but it was
but still, to make such a statement, that's awesome.
It was very cool of him back in the day for sure. Yeah.
Ahead of his time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but no, I'm just the only thing that I think I will say I'm sad about with the ending is I just want to know that the next season's coming out like immediately. I haven't looked up.
I know when it is. It's not until next year.
Oh.
2 in February. It's one of the like spring animes that comes out. Or not spring.
I mean, it makes sense.
February
like I know it takes time to animate things, but at the same time, like it's just also kind of sad because like I want to experience
all I know
more
is like the relations. I know how like who I know who Jinshi is,
Mm-hmm.
like who he actually is, and who
Oh.
his mom is,
Mm-hmm.
and who he's related
Mm-hmm.
to. I won't say anything else.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, so I know the next season's gonna
Yeah.
be like top tier.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I've always my assumption, because I've looked into none of the rest of it. Like I
I
haven't
was just
tried
more
looking
curious about family tree issues.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I looked into.
And I know that my suspicion, based on what we were watching in general and what we've seen so far, is that Jinshi is the former purity
You are
concubines.
You
Yeah.
are correct.
Okay.
I hope I don't spoil it, but you are correct.
Makes
Yes.
so much sense. It's the
Mm-hmm.
one. I mean, that's who he looks the most like,
Yeah.
for one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It would also make sense for him, because like one of the things that I like people kept thinking about is like, why would the emperor allow somebody who's not a eunuch into the rear palace? Because like that was a big
Right.
thing in the day. Like you
Right.
did not, and any man that could potentially sleep with your concubines, they no,
No.
they had to not be able to do it. They had to not be able to do the deed. Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, why would he be okay being there if he's not?
But the emperor doesn't
Mm.
know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like he thinks he's one person,
Mm.
but he's not.
See, my assumption was that the emperor might have had some idea of that he might be related to the emperor.
So he thinks he is related to him, but not the way he thinks it is.
Oh, okay.
So like, I don't want to give spoilers.
No.
Like, okay, so the suspicion you have is correct.
Mm-hmm.
But Ottawa hit him as his brother, not the emperor's son.
So
the emperor thinks this is his little brother, not his firstborn son, of which he actually is.
Okay.
That's why the garden party says the little brother I thought was just here, but he has a low constitution. That's why he's not there, because no one knows that Jinshi is his little brother. But Jinshi's not his little brother.
That makes a lot of sense.
Is his actual firstborn son.
Yeah.
Remember the current emperor had the kid with Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
This kid did not live at the same time. The emperor's consort, the emperor's father, had another son at the same time.
Yeah.
One died.
Yeah.
They swapped them. Ta-da! That's all I'm giving. That was a lot, but
yeah. But I mean, like that was kind of like what I like.
But you were
in line with what I expected.
Yeah. So that's the only reason.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of like question marks of like what's gonna happen.
Yeah, well, because
now
realistically,
that Lady Goku's pregnant.
Yeah.
Even if she has a boy. He's not the next in line.
I mean, technically
he's not.
No, I mean, if Jinshi specifically gives up, like, or relinquishes his claim.
It sounds like he really would want to.
Yeah, it sounds like he doesn't want to be that
like
person.
His job. Yeah.
No.
Absolutely, he does not.
But it also, that's one of those things that again makes sense as to why Jinshi would be performing any sort of rites, like ceremonial rites, because you would need to be a part of somewhere in the imperial family to really be doing that. So
that's why I love this anime. It's just so good. You don't have no idea what's gonna happen next.
Well, we've now figured out Mao Mao's entire line. Like we know her thing. Besides her adoptive father, like we just have to figure out where he all comes back and fits in. But beyond that, like we know who her dad is, we know who her mom is, we know who she was raised by. We know a lot about the circumstances of how she was raised.
I heard that the old lady was actually her grandma.
I have not heard that, but that would be interesting. I mean, I guess in a way, like you could.
Why would you keep a sick courtesan that's useless if it wasn't related to you, whether her contract was up or not?
That makes sense.
And she was kept in nice conditions, away from everyone. But nice conditions. That one would do that for a family member. Yeah.
Would make sense.
It would.
I mean, I guess the only other thing that I could think of that would potentially make sense is if she feels like that releasing that courtesan would end up being like something shameful for that Verdigree's house.
So it was already too shameful when it happened. Remember, it like took a huge hit already at that point.
But I mean, could you imagine if that person was then walking around town, versus if she keeps her in Verdigree's house and then under kind of in a controlled space,
that's a good point.
then maybe it's something that dies out and then people don't
That's
think
true.
about it.
That's true. That's a good point.
I don't know. It could be easily be either way. Because I don't know. I'm likening a lot of the courtesans and things like that to, because one of my favorite movies of all time is Memoirs of a Geisha.
Yeah.
And so like I'm trying to think of it as like how they made geisha appear in that. Like I know geisha and the concubines in these stories are not the same because it's two different countries,
They're very similar.
but they are similar in a lot of ways. So that's why I'm trying to like I'm like I can draw some parallels.
I really hope that guy gets what's the big boobed courtesan's name? The biggest boobed one?
Oh,
The guy who escorts
Yeah.
Mao Mao out the first time, and the courtesan that he went with. It starts with a P, isn't it? Pusheen? Pusheen? Something like that?
you know what? Here we can do this.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know what it's called, but I really hope those two get together. I want those characters.
here we are.
Perrine
Yeah, and Lihaku.
Lihaku. I want
Yeah.
those two to get together really bad.
Yeah, I think that would be really really nice to see them end up together, just especially because like he has feelings for her and everything, and like we know that he has these feelings for her.
Looking as well.
He is.
He's
He
very
is.
nice. I was very upset when he had to stop taking his clothes off. I was like, no!
I will say I did really enjoy though Jinshi walking in on that scene.
I love it when they get all chitty.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, but Jinshi's just like here, like, you have a man undressing in your like space in front of you, and she's just like,
I'll examine you.
yeah, she's just like, I'm just making sure he's a good specimen, basically. And he's like, Jinshi's like, for what?
I love it.
And I love how quickly like Jinshi realized he has feelings for Mao Mao, but Mao Mao has no idea.
He is just like
She is
straight
so
over her head.
dense in some ways.
So smart but so dense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, girl, you live in a brothel. Like,
Mhm.
put two and two together. Come on.
She's got book smarts. She does not have the people smarts. Well, actually, but
She
that's
has
the thing,
the
though.
street smarts and
Yeah.
the book smarts, but not the people smarts.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
but like it's weird sometimes how well she can kind of like see how people relate to each other
Mhm.
that are not directly involved with her. Like
Yeah.
when she was figuring out some of the stuff with like the blacksmith and his sons and all of that.
Yeah.
Like she was figuring all that out so
Mhm.
well,
Mhm.
but then she can't. When it's close to her, she has no clue.
Maybe it's because it's like you said, maybe it's other people. If it's too
Yeah.
close to her, she'd probably like
Yeah.
zoned it out. Maybe it's because of what happened to her and her mother and stuff like that. You
I
know?
mean, that would make sense, I guess. It's always interesting to me too, I guess, like how much she really referred to her, like her. I mean, obviously she referred to her mostly as like the woman who birthed me when she came to her
she's
mother,
very
but
detached.
she's detached, but at the same time, like she wants to be attached.
Right.
It seems like.
Well, she's the one who's
Yeah.
always checking up on her when she's home
Yeah.
and stuff too. So yeah.
Yeah. Which, I mean, makes sense. Like, like you look at a lot of adopted kids and they want to find out about their adoptive parents
It's true.
once
Sure.
they're old enough. But, at the same time, like, she definitely doesn't treat some of the other sisters at the brothel like they were her moms,
Mm-mm.
even though they really kind of were for
I mean,
some of the
Perrine
women.
lactated.
Yeah,
just 'cause.
literally lactated for her.
Just
A woman
'cause.
who has never had a baby said, "Here you go."
Is that actually
The boob.
possible?
Yeah, actually,
Oh.
you can. So I know, like, at one point, this was before I even, like, started IVF process, but there was,
Mhm.
at one point, I kept getting this one lady on my TikTok. Because she's a lesbian, and so she and her wife were having a kid. Her wife, was the one that was pregnant, but she was specifically, like, intentionally pumping to produce milk for the child.
Oh.
And then, so then she was able to
so you
then
could
breastfeed.
Switch. Yeah.
Yeah. So ultimately, she
Interesting.
was able to breastfeed her child. You can definitely like
I wonder if
kickstart the
close
hormones.
proximity increased her hormones as well to allow that. You know.
Probably.
I would think so.
I mean, there's a certain level of false pregnancy that can happen in general,
That's
and you would
true.
be able to. I mean, like I saw a patient once for at work. It was a dog, so this is not people, but it was a dog. And she ended up she started going into like heat, and we ended up spaying her. But right afterwards, she started lactating. She was exhibiting signs of a false pregnancy.
Gotcha.
And so as a result, like her body was like, oh, your babies are gone. So therefore now here you go, milk.
Oh, so almost like a trauma response from a removal.
Yeah, kind of almost. Yeah.
Oh.
So she never actually birthed any babies. She was never pregnant as far as we could tell. But at the same time, her body was like, yes, milk. We're going to make it.
Wow.
And she actually ended up the poor girl ended up so engorged that she ended up with mastitis too.
That stuff sucks, by the way.
Yeah. And oh my God. We were looking at how engorged they were, and I was like working with the doctor at the time, and I was like, man, like these look like they just hurt. And so like I test expressed one of them, and I was getting like milk but with some like chunks out of it,
Like
which is
colostrum or
it was like normal kind of like milk. I guess
gotcha,
it wasn't like
gotcha.
your colostrum, but it was definitely more.
compacted.
Yeah, it was a very obvious sign of like mastitis
Yeah.
at that point. And so like the doctor was like, well, hey, one of the treatments for mastitis is to just remove as much of the milk as you can.
Self-express.
So I spent time sitting and expressing this dog, which ended up being a really great thing, because originally the reason she came in is that the owners thought that she was having some like oozing from her incision.
Oh.
But she was so swollen that
From
it was
the
actually
mastitis?
holding. Yeah. So when I actually expressed all that milk, eventually I got all the pressure down so much that pus just started coming out of the incision. And I'm sorry, this is kind of graphic, but I'm not gonna show any photos or anything like that. But basically, by me sitting there expressing them, we found out that that dog needed to go in and be like
Awesome.
reopened, cleaned, and flushed out.
Yeah.
Because another doctor after that was like, why did you express it? Now you're just telling the body to produce more milk. And I'm like,
It was
because
mastitis.
the doctor literally told me like, hey, that's a treatment for mastitis. You can keep going. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna make this girl comfortable. I'm gonna make her feel comfy.
Mastitis sucks. Even if it's a little bit. It sucks.
Yeah. So I was just like, no. I mean, it ended up being actually a really good thing, because if I hadn't done that, that dog could have gone septic.
Yeah. Probably on the verge already.
Yeah. So, by doing that, I was, we were able to, get her taken care of. And as last I heard of that dog, she was doing great. So this was like a couple years back. So, but yeah, she was doing fabulous. But like, yeah, you can definitely lactate without being pregnant.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen to me, but that's
No,
awesome.
no. But I mean, there are like even women in some of the other, again, communities that I've been in that like are like, hey, I've had kids, I've been weaned for so long, but like a baby cries nearby and I will start lactating again. And like that's always kind of interesting to see that like our bodies can do that.
Oh yeah, I was like when I was weaning off when I had a baby, like cry, my boobs hurt.
Yeah.
Like I would be completely dry, but I still lactated almost like 6 months after.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't a lot, but I could still produce 6 months after totally being cleaned off. It's a possibility. Yeah, I get that.
So, and I mean but it's still like it's so amazing to me that the body can do that.
Women body can do that.
Yeah.
Oh, power of women.
Whoa. Yeah, I forgot my purse. So yeah, I mean, definitely, one of those things. But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed the end of. I enjoyed the entire series. I'm very I'm going to be waiting very impatiently for season 2.
If there's merch out in May, I'm gonna get some.
Ooh, yeah.
In Minneapolis, I'm gonna get some Apothecary merch.
Yeah, let me know if there is any.
I'm buying all the Jinshi shit.
I'm sure there will be probably some artists making some pieces with it.
It was so popular. I would not be surprised. I'd be really happy if I found some stuff.
Yeah. It's just a question of like, to what extent are there going to be items like, because it's not like it's
just like sketches at that point. It would be almost too late to like do keychains unless you got into it back in January when it first came out.
Maybe, yeah. Which I mean, they might have produced it. I mean, who knows? There might be plushies out there and stuff too.
I'm gonna go and look real hard for it though. I will. It'll be great.
Yeah. You guys can't see it, but I have several of my anime-ish
Mhm.
posts, well, anime and gaming posters literally behind the camera right here. So
I like the Haikyuu
yeah.
one with the wings. It's
I
nice.
love that one. That was such a great one to buy.
That's great. I like
Yeah.
that one. Hmm.
And then I have my Food Wars up there
It's
as
still on my
well.
to watch list.
I highly recommend the
I
show.
know.
It's you just gotta make it through the first like couple episodes, because the first couple episodes just feel a little bit weird. Like, I mean,
I feel like that's with any
Yeah.
anime. Just you gotta
Yeah.
power through a few.
well, it's just the orgasmic like response to food is strongest in the first couple episodes.
Maybe I should show that to Tyler. He
Yeah.
loves food.
Mhm.
I really should show him that one. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But maybe he should watch it.
You know,
It'd be great.
next time he enjoys food, he can just in his head imagine himself with his clothes bursting off and
They burst off? I didn't know that. Oh, they just came. No, they didn't. Okay.
No, okay, because this won't be much of a spoiler because you will,
Yeah.
and it'll be literally in the first episode. But in the first episode, they end up eating. I can't remember if it's octopus or squid, one of the two.
Mhm.
But the girl who ends up eating it, her clothes like burst off, and then there's just like tentacles wrapping around her, like the no squares. So. So then, like, you know, she's covered, but you can tell she's completely naked, and it's just like, oh my god, like the response,
Tentacle corn.
yes, really basically like tentacle corn. So like, you know, and that's like your first experience into the episode.
I think that's the next one I'm gonna watch.
Yeah.
Watch it when I get home.
So I think I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. It ends up being such a great show to watch, though, for even just the story.
Yeah.
Like, yes, those moments are freaking funny. And not something I'd be like, oh, yes, you should totally watch this when you're, like, in front of your parents. And, like, you know. Like, I mean,
It's a private anime.
it's definitely, like, it's borderline mature in how I would probably say rating it. I mean, realistically, the way the US rates things, it would probably be marked as mature, just because of some of the innuendo there. But
fair enough.
I mean, I really think of it as like PG-13. There's no real swearing or anything like that.
It's,
They don't like show any sort of like actual like sexual thing. Like that's the closest it gets.
Gotcha.
So, definitely fun though.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'll add it. I'll even watch it tonight. Probably.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Just do it. So
labor.
all right, labor. Yeah, I was gonna. One of the things I wanted to ask you was your experience with labor. Like, you know, from you know, did your water break? Did you end up, you know?
That's a really good question.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start with Kachan.
Mm-hmm.
I was in my bed,
Mm-hmm.
and I sneezed, and my water broke.
Oh,
because I sneezed.
Yeah.
I
you were
thought
just like
I
the
peed.
force.
Okay. That is the most accurate like description of it.
Just
that's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I peed myself.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a lot.
Yeah.
Like an actual water balloon, like burst, and I was like, Tyler. He's like, what? I'm like, because he was out on the couch, because I had neglectedly kicked him to the couch at this point because I was just so uncomfortable. We were in a queen size bed in a basement. I was uncomfy. I was like, I think my water broke. He's like, you're joking. I'm like, because I went to the bathroom to go like pee. The pee doesn't stop once your water breaks.
Yeah.
It just keeps coming out.
Yeah, it just keeps flowing. Well, because it's all your amniotic fluid coming out.
All of it's coming out. Yeah, exactly. And my mother-in-law came downstairs. She's like, can I come see you? I was like, yeah, that's fine. You know, past the point of privacy at this point. She's like, are you sure? I'm like, I've been sitting on this toilet for 20 minutes and stuff is still coming out. Like, go look at the bed. There's a huge thing. He's like, oh, it's time to go. Like, this is 9:00 at night too.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, crap. I guess this is happening. So we end up going there and they're like, well, you haven't started contractions or anything yet. I'm like, no, I feel fine. But my water broke. You go. Like, so I went. And I was fine for about 2-3 hours, something like that. And I tried to go, I always said I'm going to go as long as I can. Well, back labor. And I do have a high pain
Heard about
tolerance,
that.
but back labor is like no joke. It is not fun. And I'm pretty sure Peyton had back labor too when she was.
Yeah, I remember her
I
saying
think
she
she
had
did too.
back labor.
It's not fun.
No.
It's literally like getting stabbed. I've never had cramps with periods, so I don't have anything to reference for like contractions and stuff. But it felt like two knives stabbing into my back.
Ow.
That's what it felt like. It was very uncomfortable and awful. So then at that point, I already knew I was gonna get like an epidural and stuff, but I wanted to, like ease myself. So the first thing they give you is fentanyl.
Oh.
To like, so I got drunk, off fentanyl, and it worked great. I didn't feel any pain. I was good, but the thing is that the nurses didn't give me my next dose fast enough.
Oh.
They were an hour late for my next dose.
Yeah.
And they even said
fentanyl's potent.
Well, right. Even the next dose wouldn't have been as great as the first, hit, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
The first hit. And, at that point, I was very uncomfortable, and I was like, all right, epidural, please. And I was freaking out. This is a long-ass needle going into the back of your spine. Yeah. They moved Tyler out of the room because you're not going to have your husband see, like, this huge-ass needle going in the back.
No. How did it feel with the needle being inserted? Because that's one thing I don't ever hear anybody actually talking about.
You know how you feel like when you have like a tingle go up your spine?
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Kind of like that. So not like a true
like
pinch per se.
No. I think it like there's a pinch when it first goes in your skin, but it's like kind of just a tingle that goes down your spine, and you can feel it in one spot, and then it just goes all the way up, and that's it. And they numb you real good, around it.
That makes sense.
My anesthesiologist who did it, I didn't even feel it. I felt a very small pinch. It's probably even less painful when you get it here, honestly. But and then it just kind of.
I never really thought about the fact that you can get like the epidural.
No. Like if you get like a vaccine, if you get a shot. Yeah. So that's all it felt like, and it was super nice. My second epidural, that one hurt. That one was not very done well. I heard the anesthesiologist was like 3 days away from retiring. I think he was like just.
Old man sitting there with a shaky hand, like
he wasn't. He was just like pooped out and just done. But the one who did my first, he was beautiful, did a great job. But that's the other thing is with labor, if you do end up or do decide to get an epidural, well, you're gonna get induced. So you'll have an IV in your hand.
I mean, I hope I won't have to get induced. I hope she'll just decide to come on her own, because I've heard that the two worst types of laboring are having the Pitocin and then having, the back labor in general.
So I agree with back labor, but the Pitocin I don't. Because so the epidural, that's the other thing you got to think about is the epidural. Once you get it, you're done.
Yeah, you don't
get to move. No, you don't get to move. You don't get to walk around. You don't get to pick which positions you're in, because they just flip you back and forth on your side. You have this big peanut thing. You get a catheter put in because you can't get up to go potty or anything.
Well, you wouldn't even feel if you needed to pee because you're just numb.
Exactly. So they put a catheter in once you're more numb, so you don't feel anything anyway.
Yeah.
And then they put one of those giant peanut balls in the middle of your legs, and then they just flip you back and forth every hour. So and mine was at night with Kachan for the first time. So every hour. When I'm trying to sleep and get through this.
Because they tell you so much, like sleep as much as you can during the early stages of labor.
You cannot make that room dark. It has to be only like lightly dimmed in there. Tyler tried to stay awake. I just told him to go to sleep. I tried to sleep. I can't sleep unless it's like pitch black. It was awful. And I was just turning back and forth constantly. I loved my nurse. I loved her. She was great. All of my stuff with my firstborn was great. And it was about 6 o'clock in the morning, and they check your cervix every so often. Thank God they don't do it every hour they check you. No, they checked it like every maybe 3 or 4 hours. So.
That was definitely another thing that people talked about too, is they're like, you can deny cervical checks. Like, you don't have to do it as frequently as they want you to. You can wait I
only got checked like twice.
Yeah.
And I wasn't making progress. So by 6 o'clock or something in the morning, I wasn't making progress. And my water had broken at 9 o'clock, so it's already been almost 12 hours since
and I know they don't like you to go over like 24 to 48 with it.
They were already starting to get nervous because, I wasn't progressing. I had a lot of pain, well, not thanks to the epidural, but I had...
You had the pain before that.
Right. And so they checked it, and I was only at 2. They were like, honey, you're not progressing. We're going to have to give you Pitocin. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I was like, cool. I was ready and like, oh no, that's what it was. It was at 9 o'clock that they gave it to me. 9 o'clock. So a full 12 hours. Came in and checked me in half an hour. I was at 10.
Well, there you go.
Pitocin is great, okay, for that reason. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But for me, it did.
Yeah, because I've definitely seen a lot of women say that, like, Pitocin, like, that they weren't progressing even with Pitocin, that their contractions were stronger and they hurt more and things like that. And because there were some women who were like, I got induced with my first child, but then when I had my second child, like, I chose not to get induced, and that was a much easier labor. But then, like, you kind of have to think at that point, like, by the time you're having your second child, your body's understands what the contractions are more.
Not always.
Like, you know,
not always.
well,
but yes.
I guess, like, I would think of it as,
it
like,
knows
you know,
what it's going to
doing
happen.
a little bit better.
Yes. So,
like, yeah, you can have, like, a more painful labor with your second versus your first or whatever, but like, ultimately, like, your body should have some memory of having done these things.
Right.
So, like, it's, you know.
At 9:30, they came in. They were like, "You're at 10. Are you ready? Are you feeling pressure?" I'm like, "Yeah, I feel like I'm getting squeezed." That's literally how it feels. Is, you know, just like a really tight hug around your stomach is what a contraction feels like, or at least it's what I felt.
At least when you had the pain relief.
When I had the pain relief, that's all you feel is a lot of pressure, and you feel like you feel like you need to shit. Yeah. Like, that's just what it feels like. Easiest way.
All the muscles right in the same spot.
They're like ready to go. And they turn over like, we're gonna go. I'm like, oh, all right, this is happening. And that's when my freak out happened. I was like, well, shit. I pushed twice. It took me 20 minutes.
You're like, let me push, and then
because people had to get in. So, like, I was ready at 9:30. People had to come in and get ready. It was like 9:40. I started pushing. Kasha was here at 9:57. Well, I pushed out twice, and my labor for him was great. I did not tear. I did not poop. The cord was wrapped around twice on his neck because they had seen the dip in his heart rate. But I pushed twice and the kiddo was out. Solid. It was great. And, you know, Deku was about the same. I lucked out. I really did. Deku held out on my epidural longer because, thank God, you know, like, my body apparently was used to the pain at this point. I was uncomfortable, but it wasn't, like, bad. That I was getting induced because I was just done being pregnant. Sometimes that just happened. I was done. I was done with working. I was done with, like, being around.
Let me go.
Let me go.
Let me go. Get this kid out of me.
I mean, I don't get big when I'm pregnant. I don't even look pregnant until like closer to.
But that really has to do with, like, your body shape too. And you have, like, one of the things I've been reading a little bit more a lot too is, like, women in general who have, like, a longer torso tend to not have things push out to the front as quickly. Because there's so much more space for everything to move.
Deku did, though, because it was my second. So even though I didn't look as big or I looked the appropriate, I felt bigger. I felt more uncomfortable. With Deku, I just went in, like, it was like 5 in the afternoon or something, or no, it was in the morning, because I didn't feel him that morning moving, and you're supposed to go in, obviously, if he doesn't move, like, 5 times in an hour. So we went in by noon. The next day, it was like noon again. They had given my epidural like at 6 o'clock in the morning. At that point, that epidural did not feel good. Did not. I actually get a twinge sometimes in my spine from where it still was. So that you got to think about that too. Like, my first one was fine. After my second one, every time I turn, there's sometimes that twinge.
Well, realistically, I guess that you would think about, if you think about it, I mean, you should have scar tissue in the area where they're then putting that through, right? So, like, that, I guess that's kind of why I thought. But I have heard some women, even after their first one, they'll generally still experience backaches every once in a while in that spot.
Mine actually just feels like an actual needle, just like, just pokes through. It's not very long, but it's there. Yeah. It's like, that's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And with this one, with Deku, though, Deku did not want me to lay on my one side. So you're supposed to rotate so the blood doesn't pool to your one side. Yeah. But it did, because every time we turned Deku, or turned me to turn Deku, his heart rate would just like just go straight down. They're like, you're gonna stay on this side. Yeah. Like, great. So they had to come in and actually just like.
But then that sucks, because like laying on your side for so long.
It was like the most uncomfortable side. Yeah. Like, I was on my left side, and I was just like, this sucks. Because Tyler's over here on the couch on this side. And I can't even be like, hello, how's it going? You know?
Well, and I've noticed too, like, because it would take me like even pre-pregnancy, like if I laid on one side of my body for too long, eventually like my hip would hurt. But it happens so much faster now because there's just so much extra weight in there that I'll be like, all right, I'm laying on this side, and then like 30 minutes later I'm like, ow, my hip like just hurts, like I need to shift in some which way. So like I can't imagine doing that while in labor, because you still have the weight, you have the contractions, you have, you know, this thing trying to come out of your...
They gave me Pitocin at like 6 a.m. in the morning because I wasn't progressing. I had gotten there at like 12 o'clock the day before, so I was over almost 18 hours at that point.
Oh, wow.
You know, or no, less than that. I can't math. 12... Yeah, it was over 18 because I got there at 12 and then it was 6 a.m. the next morning. Yeah, so it was 18 hours. I was already there and I wasn't progressing. Still not. Nope, no progressing. They're like, Pitocin, 6 a.m. I'm like, cool, fine. Oh, and I didn't get the fentanyl that time. I just went straight for the yeah, I wasn't gonna risk not doing that. That was the only other difference. And I was fine. And I was starting to progress. I think it was starting to progress closer to probably like 10 or 11. And we asked them like, hey, time to go. You know, I'm starting to feel some like needing to poop and stuff like that. Our nurse the second time wasn't great. She was older. She just didn't pay attention to us. I was getting really frustrated. It was like noon. The nurse came in and one of the midwives came in to check on me. Deku's head was like already almost out.
Well, and then I'm sure the nurses were like, shit, like, we can't give birth until you have your doctor.
Well, that's just it. Like, he was already crowning. He was already almost out. I was like, hello, how long has he been down there? You know? And I couldn't feel it. I just felt like I needed to push. She's like, well, this is it. We'll get the doctor. We'll see where it goes. So they're gone for like 10 minutes and they come back. Like, the doctor's busy. Would you care if it's a midwife? Because they're qualified. Like, I don't care.
Like, if my baby at this point is coming.
This thing is in here. He is ready to go. You're expecting me to now hold this thing in my birth canal and wait for the doctor. No. If you are a midwife, if you are more than qualified, please, by all means, help me push. And then,
I'd be like...
I pushed once.
Oh my gosh.
I pushed once. And I don't understand this. I tore, and I pooped. And he was already out. Like, how does that make sense? Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So everything's different.
I feel like I would be like the one who would be like sassy enough to at the midwife question to be like, well, it's either a midwife or this baby's coming with nobody qualified.
Exactly.
So like this baby's out.
What am I supposed to say? No thanks. I'll just like, you know, let it go.
Yeah, let me just try to like suck my baby back in.
Let me just tuck him in, you know, because like babies aren't supposed to be in the birth canal very long.
No.
Like, I mean, they can be, but like you don't want them there for an extended period of time because they can suffocate. There's like blood issues that can happen. Like, you don't want that.
Well, if everything, like, you know, I mean, if the placenta, because the placenta is supposed to come detached really once they're out.
Right.
You know, and everything too. So like if the placenta's becoming like detached, then they're not attached to any sort of oxygen or anything like that.
Right, exactly.
So if they're stuck in the birth canal, the placenta's detaching.
I don't even know why they even asked me that question, honestly.
I don't know either.
I'm like,
I feel like at that point they should have just been like, hey, the doctor's not available. I have a midwife. They're qualified. That's who you have available to you.
Which is totally fine. And I can see why people wouldn't be like happy with that either. And that's okay too. But I'm like, am I supposed to say no? Like, don't be dumb. Like, I came in here to get induced, to get this kid out because I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Oh no, gosh. I wanted it there longer.
Yes, let me just, you know, again.
He still didn't get born until like
suck it back in.
110 or something. So I still had to wait anyway to get all these other people in because it's not even just the doctor and a nurse. No, there is like 5 or 6 other people in there.
I guess. Well,
that doesn't even include like Tyler.
They probably needed a couple nurses to like take, you know, get one catch baby, but like also like
there's like 3 for the baby, your nurse, the doctor / midwife, and then your husband. So like 4 to 5 people in there.
Yeah.
And then they always ask
the number of people that get to stare at your vagina.
I mean, I don't mind, but it's like...
Well, I mean, at that point, you probably don't care.
I don't. Get it out.
Yeah, you're like, just let this baby get out of my vagina.
I had some people ask me, like, do you want it filmed? I'm like, no, I don't want to see my body like that.
Oh my my god.
I don't want it to see like I'm pushing out like
Yes.
toothpaste. Okay.
Film my body and then show it to the next generation's
Well, both
middle
the
schoolers.
midwife and the doctor for both my kids were like, "Do you want to see the placenta?" I was like, "No, I do not want to see a bloody booger that comes out of my body." As Tyler, that's what Tyler described it as. It's a very bloody booger. I'm like, no, I don't.
Makes sense.
You know? Yeah. Like, good for it. I'm happy for what it did, but like,
Yeah.
no. I just gave birth. I'm very uncomfortable, and I don't want to vomit.
Yeah.
Of which I ended up doing because my blood pressure like dropped like a
Oh,
lot during
yeah.
Deku. I forgot about that. My blood pressure like dropped a lot, but not like bad. But it would just go down, and then it would come back up.
Oh,
So it would cause like spouts of vomiting. Oh my god, it was awful.
Was it dropping with the contraction or after the contraction?
Every time they tried to move me too.
Every time.
Yeah, so that's another reason why I wasn't allowed to move.
Mm.
Yeah, because it would drop my blood pressure.
Yeah, that's why like so far like I'm hoping to go with I want to try going without an epidural initially, because one of my biggest things is like I like having control over my situations.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so the idea of not being able to move so much because of an epidural just makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm not like afraid of an epidural. I'd be fine if I need an epidural. If I say go for it,
it's not as bad
I'm gonna
as
go
you
for
think.
it. But
it's not as bad as you think. It really is.
But that's why like I know one of the things that I have read about a few times, and it's not common in the US at this point, but it's apparently very common overseas, is doing what they call a walking epidural. So they give you enough of an epidural that your pain is lessened by a significant amount, but you can still feel enough that you can move around.
Move your legs.
You can move your legs. You can still like go to the bathroom, like things like that. But
your legs feel heavy with epidural.
Yeah. So and I guess it's still one of those things that they're just not commonly doing in the US. Because the U.S. is honestly behind. On a lot of things, which is so funny considering that we have some of the world's foremost like medical facilities in the U.S. Because like Mayo Clinic is world renowned and it's in our state. you know?
We lucked out.
Yeah, but at the same time, like it's kind of weird that we're so far behind on some of those things. But anyway, the other option, like too, and because I don't remember if my hospital offers a walking epidural. I figured I'd ask them if I got to that point. But the thing that I know they do offer that I'm intending on trying is laughing gas.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can use nitrous, because the name for laughing gas is nitrous oxide.
Bio lesson for the day. Well, no, chemistry lesson for the day.
Yeah. But of course, it was so funny. I told Zach, I was like, I've never had, nitrous before. And he was like, you've never had it at the dentist or anything like that? And I was like, no, I've never, anything that I've needed to like be put out for it. Like when I was put out for my wisdom teeth, but I was out for that.
You lucked out. My dad was cheap. We were awake and they just stabbed our mouths.
Yeah.
That was awful.
I don't even know what they put me out with, to be honest, which kind of like bothers me a little bit that I don't know.
It wouldn't be what's it called? What do we use? What's the white gooey stuff that we use?
Propofol?
Yeah.
Probably. They probably did. I don't remember having a catheter placed in me. I don't remember being knocked out, which is the part that like is weird for me.
Were you so young and like tired? Like
I was 19, I think. 19 or 20 when it happened. So like I don't know. Like whatever they used to knock me out, like also knocked out my short-term memory.
Just at his wisdom teeth out and see what he got knocked out with. But I think he had laughing gas prior. So I don't know if that.
But yeah, I've never had laughing gas, so I was like, I have no idea how it's going to affect me. I've read that a lot of women, they're like, it doesn't like there's no actual like pain relief. But you feel so like it's such an out of body experience.
Oh, you still like gotcha.
That it's like, one woman literally wrote in this comment, and I think it's my favorite comment. But she's like, you don't care about labor contractions when you're in space, So I was like, okay, that sounds like something that I would probably be more interested in. And they, everyone's like, too, there's no real great way for it to cross the placental barrier. So there's like no real concern about your kiddo getting it. But then at the same time too, like you have to breathe this in. You are physically controlling your own breathing and your own dosing. So like you can't really like overdose it. You can't really like, you can underdose it for sure, but you can't really overdose it. So like I think I want to try that first, because like another thing too that I saw.
I wouldn't do the fentanyl. I really wouldn't.
Skip
I
fentanyl.
felt I would really honestly skip it.
Honestly, I don't enjoy the idea
drunk
of opioids
for like 5 minutes, and then you
Yeah.
feel like awesome, but then you want more, and you don't. It's not no.
As a medical professional in general, like again, yes, I understand. I work in veterinary medicine. It's different than human medicine.
It's still
But
meds.
as a medical professional, fentanyl actually kind of scares me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, because it's such small amounts before you're overdosing.
Yeah. I wouldn't do it.
So it's like one of those things where I think it would be something that I would avoid.
I would.
If I can. I'd like to try and go mostly unmedicated and use breathing techniques. I'm not sitting here thinking I'm gonna be some superhero. Please don't think that of me. I will 100% pick the meds if I think I need the meds. If I'm going to the point where I'm laboring for 12 hours, I'm willing to bet you I probably will take the epidural at that point. But
I told my sister the same thing, because she gave birth last year. She's like, I'm going to try to go on natural. I was like, I'm going to tell you now, you're not going to want to. Like, more power to all the people who can. And I say, yeah, go for it. And that's what I did. But I wasn't afraid to get the epidural, because at that point, you need to focus on having your kid.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be focused on, like, the pain. And not that it's against anyone else or I say something shitty. That's not what I'm trying to say. The people who say, it's like, well, it's a natural thing. We've done it for centuries. Like, that's great. But we live in an era where you can do it where it doesn't affect your kid. There are literally almost 0 to no side effects from having this. Why not just relax and let it happen? You know?
I guess ultimately too, like, for some women that have really, really painful contractions and things like that, I mean, you have to think that it probably is destroying a little bit of the bond immediately with your baby.
Right.
Like, I know you're going to get the hormone rush that makes you love your baby, because it's a biological thing that your body does.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, doesn't really
want that memory, first memory of them being put in pain to have them here,
Yeah.
Again, more power to the people who can do it like that. Good for you. Awesome. But
I have a hypnobirthing book that I plan on reading before I, I plan on reading over the next few weeks, because I'm getting closer to labor anyway, which is slightly scary to think about. But, I know I am. And it's got a lot of like breathing techniques and things like that. And at the very least, if it can get me through some of the earlier stages of labor, awesome.
Be distracted. Bring a Roku, bring your Switch, bring stuff to occupy, because the hospital, I don't know what the hospital you're like is going to be, but bring stuff to entertain you. But the biggest thing though about epidurals, if you get one, make sure prior to it you get food in you, okay? Because then you are restricted to a liquid diet or ice. That is all you get. And that was a big mistake that I made with both of mine, is that I did not have anything in my stomach, or at least not enough of it, prior to these epidurals. And I was just starved the entire time. And, quite frankly, you're not going to want to eat while you're on epidural. You really won't. Even if you're starving. You just really don't. You just...
Well, anesthetics, and the stomach never seem to really agree. And it is an anesthetic. It is 100%
I mean, your
an
key is
anesthetic.
covered with a catheter, which is fine, but you're not going to want to do anything else, honestly.
Yeah. And I know, like, that's, like, there's even some hospitals that will say once you're in labor, don't eat, because they're going by older medicine things, and, like, partially it's because of the fact that, like, I know I've read a bunch of times that it's really because if you go to a C-section, they want you to be fasted for it. Because obviously it's better if you're going to be under anesthesia to not have a risk of vomiting.
You're going to get an epidural anyway prior to your C-section anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, but if they have to put you all the way out, they want to protect your airway as much as possible. But at the same time, like, there's so many studies that have shown too that, like, hey, it's actually not a bad idea to eat in your, like, stage 1 labor. Stage 2 gets a little bit more iffy. Maybe start, doing more like liquid, things like that from what I've read.
I mean, you can have, like, broth and, like, popsicles and stuff, but honestly, you're not going to want it. Because you're going to want actual food. And that's the only other thing, is if you get an epidural, make sure you eat something before.
Okay. I planned on trying to like, at least have like some snacks around for myself so that I
Yes.
did eat, because that is one thing too that I would not be surprised. Especially like now in third trimester, I feel like I'm eating less than I did in second trimester, just because I don't have stomach space.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I noticed like between my last visit and where my weight was there versus the visit before that, I don't think I changed much, if at all. Even though she, changed. Which, you know what? I've started this whole process as a plus size woman, and if she's taken extra body fat from me, I'm not gonna be too worried.
No,
I'm really not. But at the same time, like I need to make sure I'm continuing to nourish the bean. You're not really a bean anymore.
You kind of like go back to your first trimester and your third trimester.
Yeah.
You're not nauseous, but like you just feel so full and round and just huge that you just don't want to do nothing.
I definitely have gotten some of the acid reflux back that I was having.
That was awful.
It's not as bad as I was dealing with first trimester and like halfway through second trimester before I made the switch on acid reducers. However, one of the things that I dealt with a lot early on was like every night when I was going to bed, I was burping like a ton. And that's kind of coming back because the acid has nowhere to go.
Well, my farts could kill people.
Yeah.
Like, they could die.
I will say, I feel like I don't fart that much more.
Oh, mine were awful with both. Like, that's just where it went. I didn't burp, went out the other end, and it could kill people.
No, see, it's burping for me. And the worst part about it is, of course, because like your stomach's all relaxed and everything like that, is there's many a time where my stomach contents are in my mouth, and I don't like that. Or they're close to it. I can tell like they're at the back, right, and I'm like, I mean, I've joked with Zach so much. I'm like, I one thing I will be super happy about post, baby and everything like that, is that I will not continue to taste my last meal for like the next 4 hours. So that will be great.
That'll be nice.
That's one thing they don't really tell you about, is that, you get to have...
There's a lot of pregnancy stuff they don't mention ever.
But, like, I don't really want to keep getting seconds, thirds, fourths, fifths of my lunch, I really don't. So, I'm going to be excited for that, for sure.
Gotta figure out what your first meal will be.
That's the thing I keep thinking about, because like I'm still kind of torn between having a sandwich with deli meat and having sushi.
I had both. So my first kid, I got the sushi tray. The second, I got a bunch of deli meat. It was so great. It was great.
I'm at that point. I mean, the one thing I guess I will say about it'll probably be easier to do the deli meat sandwich, just because of where I'm giving birth and what's around.
Yep.
But it definitely will be one of those things in the days after when I come home that we will be getting sushi.
Sushi. Yeah. Yeah.
It will 100%. We will be getting sushi, because I have missed my salmon sushi. Because I could get some sushi now, like you could get veggie sushi and things like that.
I mean, but you can get imitation crab sushi too. You can
see, the problem is I don't like imitation crab.
Right, yeah.
And that's the thing. Like the sushis that I can have at this point,
you don't want.
They're not the ones that I want.
Right.
Some of them would I be okay with eating? Sure. I definitely did have one day where I went and got veggie sushi and just like ate it with cream cheese, and I loved that. It was great. Got rid of the craving for a bit because I was really craving the sushi around then. But at the same time, like my favorite sushi to eat is like Philadelphia rolls and like your spicy salmon rolls. And again, those are both raw salmon.
Raw.
So
I miss like red meat too. Like a nice steak, medium rare.
I guess I hadn't ever had anyone tell me to stop doing that. So
you're supposed to have like at least medium well.
Well, I do generally I don't tend to eat a lot of red meat to begin with, so that doesn't
in
help.
The future.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have at least medium well.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm a medium rare person, so.
I like medium rare when it comes to steak. I don't eat a lot of steak and things like that in general, just because it's a chewier meat and I already have jaw problems. So it's like one of those things that I would have rarely, anyway.
Oh, that's a staple in our
So,
house.
yeah.
Is steak.
I mean, I would enjoy.
I think we're having steak and potatoes tonight.
I think we have some steak actually in our freezer
No,
right now, to be honest. But like the other thing too is like we don't really have like a grill in my apartment,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
Like you can make it on the stove, you can make
Right.
it with the oven, but like it's not the same as grilled steak,
Right.
you know?
Right.
The grilled steak is the good steak, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
But no, like I mean I just that probably is part of the reason why I didn't really think about it with that is because like I just don't really
Yeah.
eat steak that much.
I had just avoided fish too during my
Mhm.
pregnancy because they were like
Mhm.
some with high mercury you can't have, and I'm like I get
Yeah.
that, so I just avoided it.
I haven't really like avoided it per se. I mean, to be fair, okay, this also comes down to, I guess, for me in general, like I grew up and the meat that I tended to eat growing up was pretty much always tilapia or chicken,
Yeah.
like chicken breast or chicken nuggets. We'd have like fish sticks occasionally, which is, you know, like obviously whatever cheap fish, you know.
It usually is tilapia.
Yeah, usually like tilapia. So like I mean that was the majority of what protein I ate when it came to like a meat. And so like even as like an adult, like that's often what I end up getting.
Yeah.
But also because one it's cheaper too,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
like I mean I don't dislike venison, but am I gonna go out and get venison all the time? No. Partially because
That's
I don't
extra
hunt.
chewy. That's extra chewy.
That also.
Mhm.
That is the other side of it too. Um, I mean, I don't think I've ever actually eaten duck or anything like that
I have,
either.
yeah. I've had pheasant.
I have not had pheasant.
It's really good.
I've not had rabbit.
I've had rabbit.
I see. The thing is, I don't
had
really like
gator.
have like a lot of family that's close or like you know that hunts. So like,
Oh, it wasn't for hunting. I
Yeah.
just had it.
yeah,
I've had rabbit. I've had ostrich. I've had alligator. I've had crocodile. I've had oxtail.
you've had way more special meats
I've
than
had
I
elk.
have.
Elk is good.
Elk is good. I have had elk.
I've had moose.
I have not had moose,
Moose.
but I have had whale.
I have not had whale. Can confidently say I've not had whale.
I had whale when I was in Norway. It was I
That's
had
the
it as
exact
like a sausage piece. So
I've had
'cause
blood
it make it-
sausage. I don't recommend.
I don't really like the idea of
Of
eating
coagulated blood.
No, just because like I you know I as you guys can tell I tend to bite my lips for one thing, and so it's not like I haven't ever tasted blood in my mouth. It's not like a thing that I really enjoy the taste of.
You know, it doesn't taste like blood, but the texture
Yeah,
is really gross.
I will say when we do like oral surgery in like the vet clinic and everything like that, and the doctor like there ends up being congealed blood in the sink, that just looking at it grosses me out. I don't really like that, so I feel like I really would not enjoy that kind of texture.
They mix
in
it
my
with
mouth.
like rice and stuff, but it's like black.
Yeah.
It's and the texture's
Yeah.
like
No, thank you.
mushy, like almost like chunky toothpaste that's been pushed out and just
Ew.
no.
Ew,
Don't
ew, ew.
recommend it. No.
I don't think that would be something I would ever pick.
I tried it just to try it and say I did. I don't recommend it.
I have had reindeer.
I've had reindeer.
Reindeer I like
I've
a
had
lot.
caribou. Caribou's good.
I mean, they are technically the same thing,
Oh,
actually.
yeah. That's
But
a good point.
it's only the U.S. that classifies them differently, caribou and reindeer. In pretty much the rest of the world, they're all just called reindeer. That's a fun fact
I've had
for
frog.
you. I've not had frog.
I've had frog. It definitely does taste like chicken.
I've heard that frog legs are chewy. Are they?
Are.
Yeah.
They are.
See, I don't know.
They're
Like, the
like-
idea of
they're
like a
like-
really chewy
They're
meat.
like they're literally like chicken thigh meat, but like chewier.
I mean, they do have really muscular legs, and the more muscle you put in there, and the less fat, the more chewy it tends to
And
get.
then alligator's really good. That's definitely like chicken, but like a lighter chicken is the easiest way to describe it. And you have to have the tail because the rest of it is poisonous technically. So the tail's the only part you're allowed to eat.
I did not know that. Actually,
Best when fried because it's already a lighter meat that tastes like chicken. So when you fry it, like tempura,
so I could see that being absolutely delicious.
it's so good.
Was not aware though that the rest of the body is
Oh yeah, you
poisonous.
can't do it.
Huh.
It's some sort of chemical that they produce,
Interesting.
and it's like doesn't make it to the tail. So
things that I'll probably look up after this.
It's something like that. I think it's both alligators and crocodiles, but you can only have the tail.
Huh.
Let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty positive I'm like right on that. You can only have the tail.
I mean, to be fair, we live in such a landlocked state.
Most of these places
where we don't really have it
are not in America.
No, yeah.
No. Yeah.
Well, and it's just like though we have crocodiles here.
Alligators.
And alligators, yeah. They're just not like super prevalent. So like I just don't
not up here, no. In Florida, yeah. But not
yeah. They're not prevalent enough for it to really make sense for people to be hunting and eating them here.
In Florida and Louisiana down there, yes.
I bet you could probably find a lot of places.
That's where I had like the frog legs.
I've definitely been to Florida, but when I've been to Florida, it's always been to like Orlando and Daytona Beach, Florida. Like those are the two places that I've really been.
I think I've only been to Daytona once.
I've been there twice. And that was specifically because my grandpa, big into NASCAR. He watches races on Sundays. Which I still find super funny considering that,
it's circles.
It's
cars going in a circle.
Yes, but also like, NASCAR and things like that tend to be big in the South, not so much in the North. And we live in the North.
Up in the South, I totally get it.
Yeah. But my grandpa loves it. He got my mom into it. My mom isn't as religious into it as my grandpa. My grandpa's watching the races like every Sunday, which is part of the reason why, though the brewery that we like is open on Sundays, we never go on Sundays.
Oh yeah, because of the races.
Yeah. Because my grandpa wants to be home for the races.
Yeah.
Like he'll usually be doing other things obviously too while he's watching the race, but it's there and it's playing and he'll sit down and watch too. Mm-hmm. I think it's probably just in general like because he likes cars. He likes working with his hands and things like that.
Fair enough.
But we went to Elko Speedway a few times when I was growing up. Elko is a smaller racetrack in Minnesota, for those of you that might not know. But when I was 5, because my grandparents started this kind of tradition now in my family, when I was 5, both myself and my cousin, who also had turned 5 that year, we drove down to Orlando, went to Disney World, and then we drove to Daytona and spent time on both the racetrack and on Daytona Beach before driving back up. Mm-hmm. And now it's kind of become a thing where every new child in my family, within my more immediate family, like once they're 5, you make that trip. And my grandparents usually take everybody, but like my brother went. My niece went when she was 5 too. So, but then we made when I was a little bit older, we made another trip down there like that. So, where we went to Daytona and everything too. Which is great because I remember that a lot better because I don't remember a lot of the things from when I was 5. I have a lot of photos of them. Awesome. Yeah. But I do not remember a lot of the things. It is so funny that he's right. Oh, he wants your water. He likes to drink out of water cups.
There's nothing in it. I'm sorry. I drink it all.
He'll live for sure. He likes drinking out of water cups though. Sorry, one of my cats is in front of us right now.
It wouldn't be like any different than our normal one.
No.
Who's name?
This is Tucker.
Hi, Tucker.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes we call him Tuck Butt.
Sure.
He does like the elevator butt, and he is probably looking for you to give him good pets up into the butt.
Do you like the booty spanks?
Molly likes them most, but Tucker does enjoy them here and there.
The booty scratches.
Kira does not tend to care for them. She does not like her butt so much messed with.
They're very sweet.
Yeah. So,
But yeah, I mean, I think your plan is good,
mm-hmm.
and I think the only thing that Peyton would agree if she was here is that plant B, C, D, E.
Yes, that's why I don't know if I've talked about her as much on the podcast or anything like that, but there's this labor and delivery nurse that's on TikTok called Jen Hamilton.
Okay.
And I've watched so much of her stuff recently. 1, because I just love the way that she says things.
Yeah.
But 2, because of the fact that like she is really good about giving you information. And one of the things that she said that I'm sticking to is instead of thinking of it as a birth plan, think of it more as like your birth vibes. Like,
Mm,
this is ideally what I would like. This is, kind of some of the steps, but here are, like the ways that I might, address, like make changes.
yeah.
And she says that like how she likes to, anytime she goes into a room with a mom, like one of the first things that she'll do is kind of try and assess like, what do you want me to give you options? Do you not want me to give you options? Do you want me to make, have your husband help make decisions, or your, whoever your
Yeah.
birthing partner is? Like what is our goals here today,
Right.
besides obviously get the baby out. So, and so I mean, I've really tried to adopt that in general.
I think
Like,
that's a good idea.
this is what my ultimate goals are, but like the other thing I specifically wrote, because I have like a birth plan paper from the hospital that I'm like filling out.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I specifically wrote on there is I'm like, both my husband and I are in the medical field. Feel free to use technical terminology. If we don't understand it for some reason,
Then
we will
we'll
ask you.
Yeah.
Like, don't feel like you have to, dumb it down for
Yeah.
us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, and I don't mean dumb it down in a mean way for anybody, guys. Like, I really don't. But like, people that don't work in the medical field don't understand what certain terms mean without, changing things. And sometimes it's just easier and faster to say things the way you would to another medical professional.
Yep. Makes sense.
That goes for anything. So, I was like, feel free to say what you want to in your medical terminology. Though I will admit, sometimes when I have medical personnel that I'm working with, like sometimes it almost floors me that they're like that, and like it throws me off.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it throws them off, I'm not trying to do that, but
just make this as painless and simple as possible.
Yeah. Like if you want to describe it as like, hey, it gotta come out your vagina, I'm like, cool, awesome, sweet, solid, I get that. If you want to go, more in depth and be like, all right, so your cervix is at this many centimeters, and we're looking for the, like if you want to be more technical about it, be technical about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're putting the, epidural needle in between these two vertebrae.
Yeah.
Cool, awesome. Do what you need to do. But I'm definitely.
Questions for me about labor?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm hoping, I guess, that I'm like my mom and my grandma with their labors, that they were moved fast, but
hope you're like me.
Only
a few pushes in it.
Yeah, well, my mom did tell me from the time her water broke to when I was born, 4 hours.
Oh, so nice.
4. She said that she could not get an epidural because it was they're like, you're too dilated. We cannot go in and give you an epidural.
Yeah, that's the other thing you have to think about is that, like, if you end up wanting to get an epidural, like, be mindful of your time.
Yeah, be mindful of what time limit you have.
They won't do it, and then it might be painful at that point.
Yeah.
They can't give you anything else either.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, you'll want the Pitocin, so you can just be done.
Yeah, that's one other thing I've seen too. Like because this is one of those things why I really like having Jen Hamilton on TikTok and watching these TikToks is there's several things that she's brought up that I didn't even think about. Why you wouldn't do it, I guess. Like there was a lady who was saying that she wanted to deny them putting an IV catheter in immediately, and I'm like, I was like, okay, I mean, I kind of get it, but I kind of don't. And Jen was like, here's the thing, if you crash and your blood pressure drops and I now have to struggle to put this catheter in you, like to administer the meds that could be life-saving meds, like you're now like set behind and everything like that. So I don't have a problem with them putting a catheter in me right away.
I just wish it wasn't in your hand.
Yeah,
that's painful. Like, okay, half the other times they can put a catheter in here. No, they always do your non-dominant hand, and it hurts.
I guess
having a catheter in your hand is painful.
I had one put in my hand for when I had my eggs harvested. It really didn't. At the time, it didn't really seem like it hurt that much. I think
I just have like bony hands.
It might be.
They just hurt.
It might just have to do with where all your nerve endings are in there too. But
I mean, I have great veins on my hands, which is fine.
Yeah, they put a 20 gauge catheter in my hand for my egg retrieval.
I think they did a 20 for mine. Yeah. For my egg retrieval, but
yeah, all for your labor.
But they're tiny. It hurts. It hurt for both.
It definitely stung going in, but like overall, in terms of like hand soreness and things like that afterwards, I didn't feel that sore. I can understand why they would want to put it in your hand though instead of your arm. Because, like, you know, with labor, you're moving around so much, or at least, you know, if you're not doing an epidural. I mean, even if, I guess, even if you are, you probably want to move around a bunch as much as you can.
Yeah, they even ask you which hand. I'm like, well, just put it in my left hand because my right hand, use it.
Yeah,
I think that's the one thing I hated about both of them is just the amount of pain in my hand. But that might have just been me. But yeah.
Apparently, he wants to cuddle right now.
Both my cats were very attached to me, more so than they already are when I was pregnant with both my kiddos.
He's generally my more aloof cat, but I kid you not, like literally from the day that I was implanted with my baby,
they just know.
he was. You would think though that it would take him longer than the same day that baby was implanted.
So,
I'm sure there's science behind it, but
probably a TMI story. But I'm not allowed to like have any sort of sexual relations on holidays, and I've made that a point because both my kids were conceived on holidays.
Sure.
So, it was about Valentine's Day of 2021, or not 2021, 2020. No.
I'm sorry.
21. Yo, no, I'm not mathing right. Yeah, 2021, because he was born later that year. So Valentine's Day of 2021, Rocco and Custer would not leave me alone. Not leave me alone. I couldn't understand why. Like, they wouldn't get off me, and I was just, it hit me at like 10 o'clock at night. Tyler was asleep, and I was like,
you're like, am I pregnant now?
I had to think about it. I was like, I wasn't good about taking birth control and stuff at that point. I'm not a huge fan of pills, let it be birth control or depression or anxiety pills. I'm just not good at it. Nor do I want to. And I did the math, and my period's always irregular, and I kept thinking, I was like, don't remember the last one, and I feel like I should have had it by now. Sure enough, went in there at 10 o'clock at night, found a accurate pregnancy test. I'm like, all right, well, let's give it a go. Sure enough, it was one of the digital ones.
Oh my god!
So it popped up in like really fast. It did not wait the whole time. I was like, well, shit. So, cats knew. I did not.
Yeah, immediately upon me getting home that same day, like they told me that I could go back to work that same day if I wanted to, but I was like, no, I probably won't. Yeah. I'll want to just like relax, because they were like, oh, you shouldn't like do super strenuous activity, and I'm like, okay, well, working with animals is strenuous. Like I could try and like do things, but since I didn't know until like a couple days before exactly what time of day my thing would be, I was like, well, there's just no point in working. Yeah. Like, just doesn't make sense for my team.
Nope.
But literally once I got home, he was wanting to cuddle up next to me or sit above me on the couch, because like I spent the rest of the day like kind of relaxing on the couch, and he just wanted to be by me like the whole time, and I was like, this is weird. Like, he's not, he's gotten more cuddly since we started him on the calming care, like that for his little bit of anxiety and everything like that. But like, ultimately, like, he's still not like the biggest cuddler.
Yeah.
He has his moments. There's definitely times where he wants to cuddle more, but for the most part, he's not like a, let me be in your face and cuddling you like the girls are. But he was immediately like up and on top of me. Yeah. Both of the girls were on the couch, but now that I've acknowledged them, Molly comes over.
What up?
The other one will continue sleeping. She's barely got an eye open at me, just because she knows she's being acknowledged.
Oop, I did not mean to do a hard spank. I was doing the booty spanks.
Booty.
Hey, kitty. Oh, you want to come up here and come sit with me?
Come on, Molly.
Come on. You can do it. Maybe not.
She's like, I'll figure it out. I'll find a way up. Don't worry.
You can come up over here.
Come on, Molly.
Come on. I'm a nice person. Yeah. I've been accepted.
Hi.
All kitty people. So it all works out.
Yes. Yeah, here, I can't even. Here you go.
Kitty.
The
It's a
kitty.
kitty. It's presented its butthole to me. Thank you. You're so nice.
She normally is one that puts her head in front of your face, mostly. She's a headbutt girl.
Oh, are you part Siamese? You seem like
so
it.
that's kind of the funny thing. So technically, if you read her genetic report, because she got a genetic report
at one point, like it.
The genetic report says Oriental long hair is in her, which would be
Siamese.
Siamese is like a category of that.
Or something.
So
those dark ears, dark too.
There should be some Siamese in her, but because she does have the color markings of like a snowshoe Siamese.
Yeah, I was gonna say you could be related to Rocco. Honestly, you got a little bit more white and stuff on you.
Yeah,
because he's a snowshoe.
Yeah,
hello,
but like she's not like a formal. She was born on a farm. We don't know who her daddy was. He was some wandering stray cat.
You're so nice.
Yeah.
My cats are gonna be all over me when I get home.
Yeah.
You don't have any other questions.
Yeah, I don't know that I have any other questions. I'm really just kind of at this point go with the flow a little bit. Like I know some of the choices that I made for baby immediately after birth. I just, have to fully decide how I want to like give, yeah. And I know like, there's a lot more like push for not laboring while laying on your back now. Like there's a lot of,
if you get an epidural, you don't really have a choice.
Yeah. That is what they tell you. We're
I don't
definitely
think it's really that bad laying on your back. Honestly, I'm a pretty lazy person. If
I
can lay down doing something,
yeah,
I'm for it.
I've read from some places, and I'm not sure how accurate this is because again, these are coming from a lot of like community group pages, but there are some women who were saying like you're likely to tear more laying on your back.
I can attest that that's not always the case, though.
Yeah. I mean, I think it all kind of depends, too, upon, like, all the circumstances involved, Like, I mean, how big is your kid's head? How much are you pushing? How much force are you having to put into pushing? Yeah. At the same time, like, sorry, I told you she's a headbutter. She likes kisses on her little head. She enjoys it. But, like, squatting has become a lot more popular.
I mean, let gravity help you.
Yeah, why not?
That's mine as well. If you get to the point where you're dilated enough and you don't feel uncomfortable to get epidurals, let gravity help you, man.
If I need to go into a sumo squat, I will.
I've heard like on your 4 knees also is helpful.
Yes.
Because it relieves the cramping of like the contraction.
I've Jen put it on one of her TikToks, but she's like, it may seem funny, but the positions that put the baby in there are also good positions to get the baby out. So
I feel that. Yeah.
I was like, okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So she's like, if you enjoyed, it's like, well, if you enjoy doggy style and you want to be on all fours, that is one way to get the baby out.
It's a good way to get rid of period cramps, from what I heard. So I can imagine it's pretty good to get a baby out because you're still like helping gravity the way your body is faced.
Well, and like I'm considering whether or not I want to do a water birth, which at that point, like on all fours or kind of like on your knees with your arms leaned against the edge of the tub, tend to be like a great gravity weight. I mean, it's kind of ends up almost being like a squat / being on all fours when you're doing that. But also too, like they just say in general, like the hot water helps. I mean, most women can tell you that if you experience pain with your cramps, that hot things like a warm like water pack or like a heating pad, it does help with the pain.
I have no reference, and I'm sorry I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
A lot of people would like to meet me.
Lucky. Just lucky.
I turned into an absolute ass, though. Yeah. My moods, though, man.
I don't have like
the exact opposite. No one come near me on those.
I don't have like a whole lot of like, I mean, like, yes, like my moods are more likely to change faster, and I definitely have a shorter temper. But overall, like, I don't think my mood is really all that bad when I'm on my period.
My mood's already like shit in general. As a person, it's pretty much on your sleeve. I'm a very like emotional person, but when I'm on my period, like my last one was really bad. Like I was an absolute devil, dude. Like, and it's been like that since I was a kid. So I may not get the cramps or like the physical stuff, but dang, don't like do anything to me. I don't even mean like something that would make me set off. Like, just be careful to talk to me, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never really been like that, but I definitely like cramp heaviest and bleed heaviest on days 1 and 2
Oh, I'm just
of
all the
mine.
time. That's the other thing.
Yeah, mine are like the worst on those 2 days, and then it just kind of chills out a little bit more. Like the cramps on 3, 4, 5, those tend to be more a minor annoyance if they happen. Maybe I'll get one bigger one here and there, but
That's where I luck out
yeah.
and get the short end stick on that one. It's like 5 or 7 days of just heavy all the time. There's
Yeah.
no like light. It
Yeah.
could trick me one day. It could be like I'm here and then it'll go away for 2 days, but then it'll be heavy again. That's the other thing. Is just.
I remember when I used to use tampons, because now I use like the menstrual cups, but
Yeah.
when I used to use tampons, I would end up using like super pluses during the day on like the first couple days of my period, because I've never been one that likes pads. I don't like the
Putting on a
feeling.
little diaper and it moves and it sticks.
Yeah, I don't like how it sticks to any of my like labia in general. Like I don't like that. Um and in general like the feeling of the
It's
blood
sitting
like kind of
there,
coming
yeah.
out too, like from there. I don't enjoy any of that. Again, personal preference. You can do whatever you want with your own body, but I don't like the idea of that. I don't like
I
the
was
feel
in
of that.
sports too, so a
Yeah.
tampon was ideal.
Same. I
So.
did sports as well, and tampons just work better. And I just never really, I didn't feel like I felt it most of the
I
time.
didn't. Mm-mm.
Like the times where I did feel it, I knew I put it in wrong,
Or
or
if I
like,
forgot to take it out.
yeah,
Luckily, I've never gotten sick for leaving it in.
yeah.
But if I forgot to take it out and felt like something, I'm like, oop, time to.
That'll definitely be one of the things I'll be talking my daughter through is whether or not she wants to pick
Yeah.
tampons, pads, menstrual cups,
You get to go through
period
that.
underwear.
I don't. Me and Peyton won't have to.
No, you guys
Won't
don't have to do that. Mm-mm.
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 Not unless one of you decides to have another kid and have a girl, but
Well, number 3 is still an option. We'll just have not tried to do that, and it's not in the near future.
mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
not totally out of the question.
but I mean, like that is one thing. Like, thankfully, like there are a lot of women in my family and everything too. Like, there's enough people that have the opportunity to be able to talk to her about periods and things like that.
I have to talk to my kids about aiming.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the pleasure area of that, I'm out.
Yeah.
Just clean up your stuff.
You can call your husband to talk about the the wet dreams and things like that. So.
I'm cool with it. I'm a very, I'm like you. I'm a very open, sexual kind of person, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You do you. Be safe, be protected. But if you're gonna mess with your stuff, I don't want to touch it. No. You will do your own laundry and all that fun junk. I'm not doing it.
Makes sense.
I'm not gonna do it. Mm-mm.
That does make me wonder, considering that my mom did have my brother, my brother and I were not that close growing up. We're closer now as adults, but we were not that close growing up.
Kids are like that, yeah.
And I definitely.
Do I get head bonks?
Yes.
Maybe.
She's thinking about it. She's like, I'm thinking about coming for it.
You can do it. That's what my cat does. I bonk you.
But like, I don't remember my mom ever like sitting down and having that kind of talk with my brother or my dad. I mean, it might have been my dad did it. I don't know. But I mean, to be fair, by the time my brother was really going through puberty, my parents were divorced.
Yeah.
I know. Are you trying to make her jealous that you...
I mean, I'm not super jealous.
She likes to try and make people jealous, though.
Oh,
yeah.
No,
There's the head buds.
Don't worry. My cats are going to be jealous of you guys, though.
Yeah. I think these guys don't really get all that jealous because, they already experienced both Zach and I coming home from the vet clinic all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So they're just so, like, used to it. But now Zach doesn't work in the vet clinic anymore, so when he does like interact with another cat, they're like, "What?" But they don't care when I come home. They don't really have an issue.
Do I smell awesome? I bet.
Probably. She's like, "I want to know." Sometimes if she feels like you're not giving her enough attention, she will like grab onto your hair, too. She doesn't eat it. Don't worry about that.
You're smelling my pits. They probably stink.
Oh, don't worry. Zach hotboxes her. I kid you not. She likes to lay under the blankets at night for a little bit.
Oh.
Like, but she only wants it if you tent the blanket for her. So basically, you have to lay on your back with your knees up, and she'll go and curl underneath your knees and that. And he will legitimately fart there, and she will stay sitting there. Sometimes she has even put her nose to his butt,
Do it
and
again.
he's like, stop that. He's like, get your head out of there. But she does not care. She does not care. And having lived with this man, I can tell you, some of them are real stink.
Mhm.
Yeah, real bad. So how she stands it, I don't know. You're just staring at down the screen? Yeah. Did you want to look at the camera?
Look at the camera.
Look at the camera.
There you go. Close.
She looked at, yeah. You got a brief look at her blue eyes.
Yeah, she's got any Siamese if she's got these pattern.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. Or some part.
She's also got Sphinx in her,
Oh, nice.
which is funny. I mean, Kira does too, but considering that they're both not hairless, it's kind of surprising.
Yep.
Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah.
Well, next time it'll be anime week, and I
Yes.
think it's the reaction video because we can't keep
Yes.
letting it off.
No,
That's
we'll have an opportunity to actually do it this time, because
All the three of
unfortunately
us.
it was me that kind of kicked it or pushed it off that last time.
That was unforeseeable.
Yeah.
So
I was like, oh, damn, they picked a day. Like, I know we had to like end up moving things around because of the weather and everything like that. But, so there will be like another day that work will want to do like a baby shower for me. But at the same time, I have
Zach's leaving work.
drive safe, Zach.
It's wet out there. Like, seriously, it's wet and windy.
Yeah.
So seriously, be safe. My car was going everywhere.
Ooh.
Ugh. It was like, eh.
Yeah, I saw the wind earlier, and I was like, well, that can't be fun.
It was pretty bad. Yeah. At least it's not snow.
Yeah.
No snow.
I'll take that. I'm okay if there's no more snow at this point, which is really kind of sad to say because there really hasn't been that much
We
snow
only
this
had
year.
like 2 like giant snows,
Yeah.
and they didn't last very long, which I was okay with because it means my basement only like flooded once. Like, that was it.
The only reason why I almost wished for snow a couple times, and I say almost because like I grew up in the cities and I still don't always want snow, but the only reason I did is because I've married into a farming family.
Yeah.
And so I know how much the snow matters for their like next season, like planting season and harvest and everything like that, because the ground has more nourishment. There's more groundwater available for plants even when we start going through a drought. And we did not have that so much this year, so it'll be interesting to see.
Dump of a rain.
Yeah. Well, and we'll see if we, how rainy it ends up being this year too.
Yeah.
Especially because they said that with the change in temperature that we should be in Tornado Alley more this year. Like Tornado Alley is now supposed to, like, the whole upper end of it's supposed to be the bottom half of Minnesota.
Great. Fantastic.
So I'm like, that'll be fun. So, because
But
we're
yeah.
not very, like, we're used to tornado sirens. We're used to the occasional tornado warning here and there. But in terms of touching down where we're at, doesn't really happen that often.
Not very.
So
if it does, it's usually farther south.
And it touches down for like a little bit and then goes away. It's not something that like lasts. I'm sorry, you guys are getting all the tail in the face.
All the tail in the face. But yeah, next week it'll be back at Peyton's with Peyton.
Yeah.
And it'll be an anime react to at least 2 episodes. I don't think we've even decided on anime yet, honestly.
No. We had a few though.
I think the runner right now is Hunter x Hunter because it's a popular anime and none of us have seen it.
I think that would honestly be one of like our best bet to do at this point because again, like you pointed out, it's a popular anime. So I think it would be a good idea. You're just moving my mouse with your tail, bud. Okay. He's like, oh, I am? Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, so that'll be next week. It'll be at the same time. There's
Yeah.
a couple other dates coming up that, like, a few of us are gone. A couple of us have seen. Well, next week is your baby shower.
Yes. But that's on a Saturday.
But that's on a Saturday. So
we'll be fine.
What is it? You're giving birth in May at some point.
Yeah.
But then at
hopefully. I would hope that she doesn't try to come in April.
Yeah, no. May.
May.
And
Right.
at the end of May, I will not be here
Yeah.
because I got the con. So.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, end of May, though, yes, I can still join remotely. If when I have a new
Kate
baby,
might not be around.
I
And
might
that's
not
okay.
for a couple weeks, depending upon how she's doing.
Honestly, you take as long as you need.
Yeah.
Like, really. Like, enjoy it because one, you're going to be tired.
Yeah.
And two, you're going to want to enjoy the little bits.
Yeah.
And you're not going to want to spend an hour and a half talking to us about being a mom or
Yeah. Well, and who knows? Maybe I will. Maybe
you will.
Maybe I'll
we'll
be like, this is my
you.
like social, moment
That's
for a little
true.
bit. We'll see.
That's
but
true.
Ultimately, like we've
no
all agreed.
expectation though.
Yeah, no expectation, no promises at this point.
No expectation of Kate being here by the end of May.
Yeah.
Just none.
Well, at this point, mid-May is when they're telling me
okay, well, mid-May.
Because I'll be 39 weeks on May 16th. So.
Well, then maybe at the end of May, because it's the end of May, you probably won't be on, then we'll just do a vacation weekend that week, because then it would just be Peyton.
Yeah.
And
who knows?
I mean, I can remotely join, but I still need a setup. So.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. We'll kind of see what we end up doing around there, but that we're getting ever closer to my due date, and I think doing the next week the reaction video will be one of the best times to do it because the chances of her coming next Sunday are pretty low. So may as well get that done before it has to keep getting pushed out. So
sounds good. Yeah. Cool.
Awesome.
Send us an email with your updates and stuff and all of that fun jazz. No one's ever sent one yet. We appreciate it. Anime recommendations, any stories, mom stories, weird stuff you want to talk about. That'd be great. Especially episode recommendations because we're running low.
Yeah. I mean, we'll definitely continue to come up with more, and who knows? We can always choose to walk away or step away from mom or anime for a week and just talk about life.
Yeah, that's true. We can do that.
Current events if we want to. I don't know. We'll see what we want to do.
Cool
Maybe
beans.
we'll just for fun read like Reddit anime stuff that one day. I don't know.
We should read some
fanfic.
Okay, that's another.
That would be a good one.
That's a good one. I'll add it to the running list. I'm like, we'll do some fanfics. We're not going to get into the nitty gritty dirty of them, but we
won't do the ones that are very much so rated R. Probably
we won't do the ones that Amy reads.
Well, maybe we'll have like a little extended cut rated R.
That would be nice.
Reading rated R on TikTok. I don't know, maybe. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Catch you later.
Bye.
Bye.